In this video, I'm going to try to demystify the counting system in Japanese. In a prior video, I made complaints about people complaining about the counting system. So in this video, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and try to make it a little less difficult. So as you probably know, Japanese has counters. But the thing is, English does too. And understanding how counters work in English can help you understand how they work in Japanese. So one way of classifying nouns in English is between countable nouns and uncountable nouns. Countable nouns are ones that you just count with 1, 2, 3, etc. And uncountable nouns are instead ones where you can't. So like paper and water. You can't say 1 paper, 2 papers, 3 papers, or 1 water, 2 waters, 3 waters. Except you kind of can, of course, if by papers you mean like academic papers, or by waters you mean like glasses of water in a restaurant, but let's put those aside for now. Generally speaking, I can't put a bowl of water in front of you and say, how many waters is this? And you can say, oh, that's 5 million waters, because 1 water is a distinct entity. Even something like glasses. For whatever reason, there is a reason, but again, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we say it. I can't just say 1 glasses, I have to say a pair of glasses. And then we also have nouns where we use a specific counter for a group of things, like a school of fishes, a parliament of owl, a murder of crows. And some of these, like the crows one or the owls one, are actually so specific that they're arguably worse than Japanese counters, because usually at least, Japanese counters can refer to more than one thing. So basically the idea then is that this thing cannot be counted on its own, but needs to be put into a group. This needs to be a pair. Water must be counted in vessels or via a measurement system like liters. Think that in Japanese, there's no noun that exists without a category that needs to belong within. And just like the English counters that we have, sheets, cups, etc., one counter can apply to different objects depending on how you're counting them. You can have sheets of paper or sheets of linen, and one object can be countered by multiple counters, just like you can have a cup of water, a glass of water, or a bowl of water. So in Japanese, instead of saying 1 dog, you say there are 1 small animal's worth of dog. Instead of saying there are 5 pens, you say there are 5 long cylindrical objects worth of pens. Instead of saying she has 2 cars, you say she has 2 vehicles worth of cars. That's the approach that you have to do for everything. As for the counters themselves, I don't think there's any point in just like reciting a bunch to you. I honestly am just going to pass responsibility on here because I think Tofugu's list of counters that you should know is pretty good. And I think that the order that they list them is, I could nitpick, but all in all pretty good. Generally speaking, the first 3 that you absolutely need to know are the generic counter, the tsu counter, ko, which is used for like, random stuff, and then nin, because you can't count people with the other ones. I'd also say that hiki for small animals, too small to ride is the general difference before they become counted by to. Ton for long cylindrical objects, satsu for books, mai for flat things, and then hai for cups of are basically enough to get you through, honestly, up to N3 probably. With 10 or so counters, you'll survive the vast majority of interactions in Japanese. There are 2 ways to use counters. The first can be used for basically anything, which is just you put number, counter, no, and then the noun, and then you're done. So if you eat 2 pizzas, you can say nimai no or futatsu no pizza o tabemasu, and you're good. The other way then is very common, but only really used when the thing that you are counting is marked by o or ga in the sentence. And this is a very fun pattern, which is noun, phrase, particle, number, counter, verb. It has like a rhythm to it, right? Noun, phrase, particle, number, counter, verb. Hey, noun, phrase, particle, number, counter, verb. Hey. For instance, the earlier sentence with pizza, I could change that to pizza o, noun, phrase, particle, futatsu or nimai, tabemasu. So noun, phrase, particle, number, counter, verb. And this works with ga too. Neko ga nihiki imasu. Noun, phrase, particle, number, counter, verb. And this is important, of course, because when you drop the thing that you're counting, the noun phrase, you also drop the particle. If someone says how many cats are there, you don't say nihiki ga imasu, you just say nihiki imasu, because it's the neko ga nihiki imasu. But of course, nihiki no neko ga imasu is also a-okay. But you can't say something like kisaten de futatsu tabemasu. Because again, this noun phrase, particle, number, counter, verb phrase only works when the thing you're counting is marked by ga or o. So with kisaten de futatsu tabemasu, that doesn't mean I eat at 2 cafes. That means at a cafe, I eat 2 things, and the thing has been dropped from the sentence. Kisaten de pizza o futatsu tabemasu. But futatsu no kisaten de tabemasu is I will eat at 2 cafes. You can use the number, counter, no noun phrase pattern wherever. Since I'm not going to list every counter, I'm also not going to list every sound change, but you should always note that any number that ends in chi as in ichi, ku as in roku, or u as in ju can become turned into a small tsu when it eases pronunciation. So for instance, ippon, right? Ropiki, but not rokusatsu because rosatsu isn't really easier to say, and juppon for 10. Likewise, when a number ends in 3, like san, if the sound that comes after it can be voiced, it sometimes is voiced, as in sambon. Again, that's only when the collective unconscious of the Japanese people decided it's easier to pronounce, because like sansatsu does not become sanzatsu. It depends on the link between the n sound and the sound that follows. And ultimately, yeah, you just gotta memorize that. I would say that's the most frustrating part, but again, it does actually make things easier to say. It is there to help you, even if it doesn't look like it when it's presented on the charts. And of course, it's important to note that some things can be counted by different things. For example, beer can be counted by hon when it's in a bottle, but hai when it's in a glass. And tsu whenever you want. So if you want to practice this, if you want to get into like the mental space to do this, just start categorizing everything you see. You see a dog walking down the street? No, that's one small animal's worth of dog, just like it's one pair of glasses. Did you order 2 pizzas for dinner? Just pizzas floating in the void with no category? That sounds chaotic. No, you ordered 2 flat objects worth of pizza. And maybe 1 cylindrical object of soda to wash it down with, as well as a few hundred small cylindrical objects worth of french fries. And, because you were hungry, 2 or 3 generic objects worth of cake. Does that feel weird? Well, get over it. There are, of course, a huge amount of counters out there. Indeed, I remember very distinctly that when my Japanese teacher back in university was teaching me counters, they noted that they'd just learned one that they'd never heard before in their entire life. But you don't need to know these. Like, if a Japanese person hasn't heard these in 30 to 40 years, you're probably not going to encounter them for 30 to 40 years as well. And if you go to that Tofugu website and memorize the first 20 or so, you're probably good to go. But even the obscure ones, they can be fun. Like, one of my favorites is zen, which is used for bowls of rice or pairs of chopsticks. So in theory, right, if you dropped 1 chopstick at a Japanese restaurant, you could say, sumimasen, atarashi o hashi o 0.5 zen kudasai. And that would technically make sense. Try it out. You won't need a special counter for counting how many times people say, wow, that was a great thing you said, I'm really glad you said that, because it will always be 0.